Welcome to Open BXRX Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. The U.S. is in the midst of a nationwide discussion on reproductive rights after new Texas law bans abortion after 6 weeks. Here to discuss what this means for women across the country and ways abortion can be decriminalized is Jacquelyn Marrero of Planned Parenthood, Greater New York. Jacquelyn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, to begin, can you just start out by telling us, you're representing Planned Parenthood, what it is actually all about?
Sure. So, first, I'll start talking about Planned Parenthood of Greater New York. We are a healthcare provider, educator, and advocate who believes that every individual should have the resources, information, and power they need to make informed decisions about their own body, family, and future. We offer a wide range of sexual and reproductive health services, including STI testing and treatment, HIV prevention, wellness exams, transgender hormone therapy, pregnancy testing, birth control, and of course, safe legal abortion. As educators, we teach young folks and adults about sexual and reproductive health care and bodily autonomy. And as advocates, we fight for reproductive rights to ensure everyone, no matter their race, age, gender identity, immigration status, or even income, has equitable access to vital health care. What's happening in Texas right now is alarming. The state has enacted one of the most restrictive abortion bans we've seen in the past 50 years since the passage of Roe v. Wade. In the dead of the night, the Supreme Court turned its back on 50 years of precedent and allowed the state of Texas to enact a 6 week abortion ban. We know that 6 weeks is before many people even know that they're pregnant. Right now, we're hearing about patients in Texas desperate and frustrated with very little resources and nowhere to turn to access vital health care like abortion. I heard of a woman, and this story breaks my heart, who just found out that she's pregnant. It's an unwanted pregnancy, but right now she's quarantining. She tested positive for COVID, and that 14-day quarantine is going to put her past the 6 week limit. She doesn't know what to do, and that's the reality on the ground right now in Texas.
And then can you just tell us what the Department of Justice is doing to combat that?
The Department of Justice is taking action against the state to ensure that folks in Texas have access to sexual and reproductive health care and abortion. The DOJ is suing Texas to reverse this heinous abortion policy. But I want to be very clear, this is bigger than Texas. We know that on December 1st, the Supreme Court is going to take up another unnecessary abortion challenge out of the state of Mississippi, which bans abortion at 15 weeks. While for many people, this may come as, come out of nowhere, come out of the blue, we have long known that politicians, especially on the state level, are gunning for abortion across the country. In 2021, we've seen some of the most heinous and extensive abortion restrictions that we've ever seen. More than 200 abortion restrictions were proposed on state levels, all with one goal in mind: reversing the protections of Roe v. Wade.
The law not only targets the person that is pregnant, but those who willingly choose to help. Can you just expand on that a little bit and what that really means?
Absolutely. And this is the most heinous and egregious part of SB8, the law known as SB8 in Texas. It incentivizes vigilantes to take action against people who support family, friends who need access to abortion. So, for example, I'm here in the Bronx. If I cash app a cousin or a friend in Texas so that they can receive abortion care or pay for their taxi, after 6 weeks, someone in that state or any state can turn around and sue me or whomever helped that friend access abortion care. It really puts a bounty on the heads of individuals who support people they love. And the truth of the matter is, 1 in 4 women of reproductive age have or will receive or have an abortion, which means we all love someone who has had an abortion. And this law is designed to dismantle the support network and system for those looking to access care.
So you referenced that it's, similar to enticing bounty hunting, which is similar to what New York Attorney General Letitia James has said as well. Do you think it's easy for people to see this as an attack on women and people who can get pregnant?
It's not easy to see it. It absolutely is an attack on a person's bodily autonomy and their right to make informed decisions about their body, their family, and their futures. Again, this is not something that came out of the dead of night. We've been seeing legislatures across this country enact really heinous abortion bans and restrictions. Again, all with the goal of trying to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is 50 years of precedent, which is 50 years of cultural norms. And on December 1st, the Supreme Court will take up a case that ultimately can do that. With Trump's, former President Trump has 3 hyper conservative justices on the bench, including Justice Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, who are vocal opponents of abortion. They are going to look to overturn Roe v. Wade, which protects individuals seeking to terminate a pregnancy and receive vital abortion care. Here in New York, we know that abortion is essential. That's why during the pandemic, our health centers were open and providing care in the Bronx and throughout the state.
And will this provide unique challenges for those who, live in lower income areas or just women of color in general?
Anytime there's a barrier to accessing healthcare, it greatly impacts those who struggle to afford it in the first place. This will absolutely hurt families with low incomes, communities of color who have historically and still face inequitable access to healthcare, immigrants who we're talking about Texas. We know for a fact that there are people from Mexico who migrated from Mexico to Texas just to receive abortion care. Recently, Mexico decriminalized abortion across the country, but access to that care is still a struggle. And that's what we're seeing in Texas. Roe v. Wade is still the law of the land. Abortion is still safe and legal in all 50 states. But what Texas politicians did was make abortion virtually inaccessible to folks. This is an onslaught, an attack on our reproductive rights, not only for the folks in Texas, but people across the country who need access to care. Because the truth of the matter is, they're really, they're politicians who are really looking to turn back the clock on reproductive rights in this country.
And what are some ways we can truly decriminalize abortion?
Well, in New York, in 2019, we passed a Reproductive Health Act. And what the Reproductive Health Act did was codify the protections of Roe v. Wade in state law. That means that abortion will always be safe and legal in our state. It takes healthcare providers like Planned Parenthood and our partners across the state to ensure that it's always accessible. That's why we're always looking at innovative ways to connect folks to care within our healthcare networks. On the federal level, passing the Women's Protection Act would hopefully do the same thing. Right now, that bill is up for consideration, and we hope that our champions in Washington take swift action to ensure that Roe v. Wade remains the law of the land.
And can you tell us, what Planned Parenthood just across the board is doing to address this matter and to make sure that, people that utilize this organization are still being protected?
Yeah, mobilizing mobilizing our supporters, raising our voices, telling politicians and the Supreme Court bans off our bodies. Right now, folks can take action by signing a petition to defend abortion access. If you have your phone in your hand, I implore you to text SB8 to 22422 or visit our website, wearepp.org/SB8, and sign a petition to tell politicians everywhere that we demand access to sexual and reproductive health care, including safe legal abortion.
And then quickly, can you just explain the importance of, ride services like Lyft? They, release an email saying they support their drivers who may be unaware or, who have anything to do with this. What is the importance of large organizations, having, supporting their riders?
It's vital. Look, Lyft, Uber, those are targets under SB8 as well. If a pregnant person's neighbor sees them getting into a Lyft in Texas, and for some reason they know exactly that they're going to receive abortion care, they can then sue a Lyft driver. That's how ridiculous and maddening this law is. So it's crucial that companies really speak up. We know that abortion is healthcare. Abortion is healthcare in this country and everywhere. So it's vital that these companies continue to speak up, support their employees, and specifically support people who need access to care.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jacquelyn, for joining us. We'll be right back.